In today's video, we're going to share the exact numbers on our properties so you can see for yourself just how profitable short-term rentals really are. Hey everyone, if this is your first time here, I'm Tony.
I'm Sarah.
And we're real estate investors who quit our day jobs by investing in short-term rentals, and we're here to show you how you can do the same.
In today's video, we're doing another income report on a couple of our properties. So we did a video like this about a year ago or so, and we figured it was time to give you all another one. So let's dive in.
So we're going to talk about two properties today, all right? Property number one is in Joshua Tree, California, and we'll look at the numbers for January of 2022 for the specific property.
And property number two is in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and we'll look at the February 2022 numbers for that property.
Now, we're going to break down not only how much revenue we made, but how much actual profit was left over at the end of the month as well. There are a few pieces that go into how much profit you'll make from your short-term rental. Let's break it down really quickly, okay? On the income side, you have your occupancy, which is percentage that tells you how many days out of the month or the year your property was actually booked.
Then you have your average daily rate, which tells you on average how much people paid per day to stay at your property.
And last, you have your cleaning fees, because sites like Airbnb and Vrbo allow you to pass the cost of the cleaning fee onto your guests.
On the expense side, you have your mortgage payment, taxes, and insurance. You also have utilities, your cleaning fees that you pay your cleaner for, and then your general repairs and maintenance costs.
And to find your profit, you simply take your total income and subtract out your total expenses, right? Pretty simple math there. Cool. So now that you have a basic understanding of the income, expenses, and profits for a short-term rental, let's get into the actual numbers.
So the first property we're going to talk about is our mini MOJAVE house in Joshua Tree, California. So this was our second short-term rental that we purchased in the city of Joshua Tree, and it's consistently been one of our top performers in that market. So one of our favorites just for that reason.
So let's break down the numbers on the purchase for this property first. So we bought this property for $285,000. Our total cash to close, including our down payment and our closing costs, was about 35 grand. And then we had another about 15,000 or so in startup costs for the property. Now, the startup costs include things like furniture and design pieces, and the upfront repairs, and things like linen, sheets, and all the other household items. So if you add all of that up, our all-in cash investment was about $50,000 to start.
So now that we understand how much cash we invested to purchase this property, let's talk about how much income we generated. Remember, your short-term rentals income is based on a combination of occupancy, average daily rate, and your cleaning fees. So with that in mind, let's review our numbers for January.
Now, our occupancy for January was 100%, which means we were booked literally all 31 nights of the month. Now, the average daily rate for the property was $212. We had, I think, 12 total bookings for the month, so our average stay duration was 2.6 days. So on average, people stay between 2 to 3 days at that property. Now, once you add in our cleaning fees, our total revenue for the month was $8,770.
So now that we know what our income was for this tiny house and what the stats were around the property, let's talk about what the expenses were for the mini MOJAVE house for that month.
First up is the cleaning costs. Now, we paid our cleaners $1,550 for the month.
The utilities bill for the month came out to $259.
Next is our mortgage payment along with our insurance and taxes, and that comes out to $1,218.
We also had some miscellaneous charges of $91.
And we also spent about $500 in supplies for the property. This is more of an irregular cost. We do this every month. We just had to replace some items that guests had broken and other items around the house. Now, if you add all of that up, you'll get a total of $3,620 for all of our expenses. So if you take our gross revenue of $8,770 and you subtract out our expenses of $3,620, you get a net profit of $5,150 freaking dollars. Now, considering the fact that this property is only 391 square feet, we feel pretty damn good about those numbers.
Now, let's be clear about something. Most short-term rentals will experience some kind of seasonality in their revenue. For example, we know that in Joshua Tree, things get really busy during the springtime, but things also get really, really slow during the summertime because it's the desert and it gets like really freaking hot in Joshua Tree. So we have nights during the summer where we may be only charging $100 per night. So it just varies. Okay, so those were the numbers for the the mini Mojave house in January. So now let's move on to February, and we'll talk about one of our cabins in Tennessee.
Now, before we move on to property number 2, we'd really appreciate it if you could give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell for notifications, you know, all the things that us YouTubers have to say. Every new subscriber really does mean a lot to us. And, you know, we have a goal to get to 50,000 subs by the end of the year. We're at like almost 15 right now. So if you're enjoying the content, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and help us get to that goal.
Also, be sure to connect with us on Instagram. I'm at Sarah Rad, and he's at Tony J. Robinson. And if you're on TikTok, be sure to follow us at The Real Estate Robinson, so you can see all of our fun dance moves.
We've also got a totally free download for all of our subscribers. If you head over to alphageekcapital.com/calculator, we've put together a free tool that helps you analyze properties that you're considering purchasing as a short-term rental. And I still, to this day, get people emailing me telling me that we should be charging for that calculator, but we're giving it away for free.
And last but not least, if you are not yet an Airbnb host, you should be. Sign up using the link in our description. You'll get a cash bonus for signing up, and we'll get a small cash bonus as well for referring you.
Okay, so back to the numbers. Now, next up, we're going to talk about one of our newest cabins in Tennessee. We actually never named this one, so we usually just call it Mill Creek because that's the name of the street that the property's on. But for Mill Creek, we're going to review our numbers for February of 2022.
So this property is a 3-bedroom, 3-bath property, not too far from the heart of Pigeon Forge. And this is our 4th cabin in the Smoky Mountains.
So we purchased this property for $785,000. And our total cash to close, including our down payments and our closing costs, was about another $110,000. And then we had about another $10,000 or so in startup costs for this property. So our all-in cash investment was about $120,000 to start.
Now let's talk about how much revenue this property generated.
Our occupancy for February was about 82%, which means we were booked 23 nights of the month out of the 28 days in February. The average daily rate was $241, and we had 6 total bookings for the month, and our average stay duration was 3.8 days, so between 3 and 4 days on average. Now, once you add in our cleaning fees, this property brought in $8,840 for the month of February. So now that we know what our income was and what the stats were around the property, let's talk about the expenses on Mill Creek and what they came out to for that month.
So first up is cleaning costs. We paid our cleaners a total of $1,125 for that month. The utilities bill for the month came out to $250, and we also have a cable at this property, which is rare, and that was another $207. And a quick call out on the expenses. There's no trash bill for this property, right? So our cleaners actually dump the trash for us. There's also no regular gas bill because the property's on a propane tank here. And the water bill is a little irregular as well because this property uses well water. So just want to call that out.
All right, next is our mortgage payment, along with our insurance and taxes, and that came out to $3,089. Now, we actually didn't spend anything on repairs and maintenance for this property for February, which is a big win. Now, if you add all of that up, you'll get a total of $4,670 for all of our expenses. So next, you take our gross revenue of $8,840 and subtract out our expenses of $4,670, and you get a net profit of $4,170 freaking dollars. Now, one thing you might be thinking is, Tony, Sarah, hold on a second. You paid almost $800,000 for this cabin, and you made $4,000 in profit, but you paid less than $300,000 for the tiny house, and the tiny house made $5,000 in profit. Now, yes, that's totally true, but remember what we said about seasonality. January and February are some of the slowest months of the year in the Smoky Mountains. Like places like literally shut down during the week because it's so slow. So this property did almost $9,000 in revenue during the slower months. So when peak season hits during the summer and during the holidays, we expect this property to do between $15,000 and $18,000 in revenue.
We're balling in peak season.
Yeah, the summer months are crazy. Now, the tiny house will probably max out somewhere around $11,000 in revenue for its busiest month, maybe. So when you look at the annual gross revenue, like we mentioned before, the tiny house will do somewhere around like $85,000. The cabin should do between $130 to $140, maybe even a little bit more depending on how good we can get during peak season. So that's an important lesson to remember when analyzing a property as a short-term rental. You want to get your average revenue for the year, not just for a single month. Because if you go on the busiest month, you'll over project, and if you go on the slowest month, you'll under project. So anyway, that's a wrap for today. We really do hope you guys understand that we don't share these numbers to brag or be boastful, but we really just want to show you all what's possible when you invest in short-term rentals and you run it the right way.
If you have any follow-up questions, please drop a comment below and we'll do our best to answer it. But that's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. I'm Sarah.
I'm Tony.
And we are the Real Estate Robinsons.